law? Does that matter to you?
The House Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. Would the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Shannon.
Present.
Representatives McDonald.
Present.
Conlon.
Present.
Farhat.
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Here.
Hoskins.
Here.
Millard. Here. Hersberg.
Here.
Outman.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Bruck.
Present.
Kuntz.
Here.
St. Germain.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have all members present. You do have a quorum.
Oh, thank you. So, first of all, let me address the elephant in the room. So thank you so much, everyone, for all the times that you've come and to be a part of our committee here. I've enjoyed, this has been the best part of my job is being the chair of this committee. I think it's a great committee. I've been on it for all 3 terms and was very proud to be the chair. I also want to thank all the members on the board today, or on the committee today. I think we worked really well together. And I think that my goal at the start of this term was that we were going to keep politics out of this committee, and I think we did a good job of doing that. So thank you, everyone. Now we'll go ahead and get started. So I need a motion to adopt the minutes from our last meeting on June 18th. Representative Hoskins makes that motion. Seeing no opposition, the minutes are adopted. Today on the agenda, we'll be hearing testimony and then voting out the following bills: Senate Bills 893, 617, and 618, and House Bill 5924. So first on the agenda, we have Senate Bills 617 and 618. Rep. Rogers is here to discuss the bill package. Representative, if you'd like to join us up here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Shannon and members of the committee, for the opportunity today to discuss the vulnerable roadway user legislative package. As a reminder, I was here to testify alongside Rep. Schutte, a cyclist from my community who was affected by an impaired and reckless driver, and a representative from the Michigan League of Bicyclists back in April to testify in support of our bills, House Bills 5223 through 4, which provided a definition of vulnerable road transportation device along with penalties. Those bills passed out of this committee unanimously with bipartisan support, and I want to thank you all for that support. They also passed out of the full House chamber with wide bipartisan support as well. Today, I am proud to partner with Senators McCann and Kleinfeld, who could not be present today on this bipartisan bicameral package of bills. Their bills are SB 617 and 618, which would create enhanced penalties for moving violations causing severe injury or death of a vulnerable roadway user, and all 4 bills are tie-barred together and have different but related functions. As I mentioned earlier in my testimony, in 2016, my community in Kalamazoo witnessed one of the deadliest bike crashes in Michigan, resulting in the death of 5 cyclists and the injury of 4 others. The Chain Gang Bicycle Club was out on a group ride on a nice afternoon when a driver, under the influence of a cocktail of drugs, struck all 9 cyclists. I'm sure we all know of similar instances in our own districts where citizens are out for a run or a ride who never returned home or suffered life-altering injuries, or who have had one too many close encounters. In 2022, according to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, pedestrian deaths hit a 40-year high. And while many states saw a slight decline in the first half of 2023, Michigan was one of 18 states where the number of fatalities increased for the first 6 months. As it stands currently, many Michigan drivers who kill a bicyclist are only charged with a misdemeanor, moving violation causing death. We, the bill sponsors, believe that Michigan law should ensure that road users face the appropriate consequences for reckless behavior that results in injury or death of another person. Under these bills, law enforcement and prosecutors would be afforded another tool to fill the gap between basic traffic infractions and more serious crimes. Senate Bill 617 provides for a felony charge for a moving violation causing serious injury, a Class E felony punishable by imprisonment of up to 5 years. There is a substitute before you on your desks for Senate Bill 617, which should be before you and aligns the penalties with those passed in House Bill 5224 in the House. On page 12, line 5, it states also a moving violation causing death would be a Class C felony punishable up to 10 years or a fine of $7,500. Altogether, Senate Bills 617 through 617 and House Bills 5223 and 5224 outline the enhanced penalties for reckless drivers that result in injury to vulnerable roadway users. Senator Kleinfeld could not be here today, but her Senate Bill 618 creates the definition of a vulnerable roadway user. In closing, I'd like you to know that the sponsors have engaged in many stakeholder conversations to develop these bills, including the League of Michigan Bicyclists, Bike Friendly Kalamazoo, Equestrian Association, the Michigan Prosecutors Association, the Michigan Department of Transportation, Michigan State Police, and the Michigan Department of State. Colleagues, these bills represent important additional steps to ensure that we are protecting our constituents, properly penalizing moving violations resulting in death or severe injury, and providing our judicial system with the adequate tools to properly address these cases. Thank you very much for your attention to this issue, and we also have someone from the League of Bicyclists to testify.
We do have a couple questions here. So we'll first start out with Vice Chair Altman.
Thank you, Chair Shannon, and thank you, Representative, for being here. As you mentioned earlier, these passed out of committee in April, and I was happy to support them. However, I did vote against Representative Schuette's bill on the floor. I supported yours because of the fact that I thought the penalties were a little bit too severe. And could you help refresh my memory, kind of walk me through are there safeguards in the bill that would distinguish between drivers who acted recklessly and those involved in accidents with no severe negligence?
Thank you for that question, Vice Chair Outman. So this is just giving another tool to the legal team to discern all those details. So it's not a mandate, it's an up to 10 years. And we did hear concerns from members on both sides of the aisle about the 15-year initial, which is why we changed it to 10 years. It's actually more in line with other states that have these kind of stiffer penalties. And then it would not preclude the full investigation from law enforcement to find out the facts of because every situation is going to be different, as you're pointing out.
Oh, okay. So there will be prosecutor discretion, judicial discretion for those folks. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Representative Farhat.
Thank you, Chair. And Representative, thank you for being here today. My question was similar in line with Representative Outman's around kind of the 5-year, 10-year penalty and kind of how we landed there. The refresher that we started at 15, moved down to 10 was helpful, and I think your explanation was pretty good. But that was just my concern, and I think it was addressed in Representative Outman's question.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. We'll bring up our next testifiers. So also speaking to the bill package is John Lindenmeyer and Jeff Carrick from the League of Michigan Bicyclists. If you'd like to join us up here, the floor is yours.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak on this important legislation. My name is John Lindenmeyer. I'm with the League of Michigan Bicyclists. I am the outgoing executive director. I just came up to here today. I keep my remarks very brief, but I want to introduce our interim executive director that's taking over. And also wanted to thank this body for your past support of the House versions of the bills. This is very important legislation to the bicycle community and the League of Michigan Bicyclists. And as I end my tenure with the organization, this is policy we've been working on for a number of sessions, so I'm very grateful for this committee for advancing them today and getting them to the House floor and hopefully to the governor's desk very quickly. So with that, Jeff Carrick.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson Shannon and the committee for allowing me to testify here today. I'd like to thank all the bill sponsors and especially Vice Chairperson McDonald, Senator McCann, Senator Kleinfeld for sponsoring these important bills, as well as Representative Rogers and Representative Schuette for sponsoring the companion House bills. As Mr. Lindenmeyer stated, I'm the newly appointed interim executive director for the League of Michigan Bicyclists. But beyond that, I'm a retired deputy sheriff who served Washtenaw County Sheriff at the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department for over 27 years. During my time in law enforcement, I responded to hundreds of devastating crashes and have worked to serve and support the victims of those crashes. During my tenure with the League of Michigan Bicyclists, I've served as the education director, and I've worked under state and federal grants to bring education to law enforcement and citizen cyclists alike on the importance of our bicycling and pedestrian laws. I also work with driver's education instructors and professional drivers on their educational requirements. I have spoken with many victims of car-bicycle crashes, to which each in their own way have stated, this was no accident. Further, they have felt victimized by our system. Those I haven't heard from, honestly, did not survive the impact with the motor vehicle. Their loved ones have, and in speaking with them, I have heard the same disappointment in our justice system. They feel let down and betrayed because the offending motor vehicle driver essentially gets a slap on the wrist. Often, they're served with probation or community service while the family is left to pick up the pieces of their loved ones. A former colleague and a prosecutor in Washtenaw County lost her father in a fatal car-bike crash in a downriver community. And although she was well-versed in Michigan law, she watched as the offender in her father's case was essentially set free, having been charged with motor vehicle violation causing death, a 1-year misdemeanor. Due to staffing levels, many agencies will default to seeking the least complex and easiest to prove charges in these cases. Again, a misdemeanor, motor vehicle violation causing death, leaving the surviving victims frustrated and hurt. Passing of Senate Bill 617 and 618, along with the already passed House Bills 5223 and 5224, will move that needle for law enforcement. It will give them an attainable outcome upon completing their thorough investigation of the crash, and also bring some semblance of justice to the victims. These bills also bring penalties on par with other vulnerable roadway occupants, such as farmers, first responders, tow truck drivers, just to name a few. Upon passage of these bills, Michigan will join 12 states who already have passed VRU legislation, and I apologize. Enforcement is only one of the pieces of the puzzle on keeping our cyclists, pedestrians, equestrians, and other vulnerable roadway users safe. NHTSA has shown through various studies that high levels of enforcement of stoplight infractions, followed by the court's upholding of the citations, has proven to be effective in behavior change, which is the ultimate goal of traffic safety. Thank you again for letting me testify here, and for the sponsors of these bills for coming forward.
Thank you for your testimony. We do have a question for you, Vice Chair Outman.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair, and thank you both for being here. Congratulations to you both. Just real quickly, again, on the penalties, can you just briefly walk me through the stakeholder process, just in regards to what input you guys received? Did you guys talk to the Prosecutor Association and some other law enforcement groups? Do you recall?
I can speak for myself. I spoke as we were helping to support this bill from both an avid cyclist standpoint and as a former law enforcement officer standpoint, knowing the frustration of this, having dealt with it on a day-by-day basis. This is my personal input on it was this would help to bridge a gap between that 1-year misdemeanor and the next step, which would be a second-degree murder charge if you get down to brass tacks on it. Second-degree murder is, a specific intent crime for the most part. It's very hard to prove in some of these cases. Generally, those cases are taken up when a law enforcement officer or another first responder is hit and killed on the roadway. Generally, when a citizen cyclist is killed, it's left to the misdemeanor process, and that's what I've seen over my 27 years.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, sir, to that?
Just to add that we have talked with different groups over the years as we've worked on these, and the prosecutors have asked for more tools in the toolbox because sometimes they feel like the higher penalties may not be appropriate, and so they get downgraded. And so what we're hoping to accomplish with this is that middle ground where they
Sure.
feel like they have more options, and at the same time, the victims and the families feel like justice was served. So finding that middle ground.
Okay. Again, thank you. Thank you for your work on this. And we are probably, or at least myself, probably going to pass just based on the late substitute. Just want to verify a couple things. That does not mean I'm going to vote no on the floor, but just wanted to kind of give you that context there. But I do appreciate both of your guys' time, and thank you for that input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a couple more questions for you. Representative Roth.
Sorry, I'm in a different spot than normal. Thank you, Chair Shannon. I should have done this before with the good Representative Rogers. Why the tie bar amongst the four bills? Is there any particular legislative reason, or just they all pertain to one another?
Rep. Rogers.
They really all work together, and so it doesn't make sense to have a definition bill without the penalty bill. So all four of them work together and are in similar vein.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I need to do a little more work myself on these. I did support the first House bills, so I appreciate your testimony, gentlemen. Also, Representative Rogers, thank you.
Representative Conlon.
Yes, thank you, Chair Shannon. Thank you for being here today. I have a question and a comment. 2 years ago, my staffer lost his mother, who was my age, in an accident. She was hit by a driver just crossing the street on a pedestrian walkway, and it was obviously devastating for that family. And this gentleman was in his 80s. I wonder how much do we know about elder drivers in this instance? Do we know that there's more of this problem in our older population who continue to drive when maybe they should not be?
I don't have an answer to that question right off the top of my head, but I'd be more than willing to look into that and get back with your office and let you know. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony. We do have one other person who would like, or two actually, that would like to testify today on these two bills. John Waterman and Sean Cosman from PEAC. And if you want to let us know what PEAC is, that would be great.
Thank you, committee members. My name is John Waterman. I'm the executive director of PEAC, which is a program that empowers individuals with disabilities through active modes of transportation: biking, busing, and walking. We've been desiring a vulnerable user bill for years. Individuals with disabilities are disproportionately injured by walking and biking. Sean, would you like to introduce yourself? Your name is?
I'm Sean Cosman.
Your name's Sean Cosman. Do you have a disability?
I do.
Do you have to share your disability? You don't have to, do you?
No.
Do you want to? Is this a good time to share with these people here who are safe?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is your disability?
What is tough?
Reading and writing is tough, and that's something that individuals call a cognitive impairment, right?
Yep.
Do you have any other disabilities?
Can't drive.
You can't drive. Yeah, it even says so in the bill they're talking about. If your cognitive ability, your ability to read and write is tough, you can't drive.
Nope.
Do you want to drive?
Nope.
No. How do you get to the gas station where you work?
On my bike.
On your bike. How do you get to the store if you want to get a pop?
On my bike.
On your bike. So the bike is your way of getting around the community.
Yep.
It allows you to be independent.
Yep.
Does it allow you to work?
Yes.
Yeah. What type of roads? We talk about cognitive accessibility for transportation, and this is a big piece of it, making sure drivers are safe. But we rate roads two ways. How do we rate roads? They're what?
To me, trucks.
They're mean or they're
Too fast.
too fast, right? So if a road is mean or a road is nice, have you ever talked about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time?
All the time.
Too much?
Too much.
So a nice road, what do the cars do when they see you?
beep on.
They beep the horn because they're nice, right? When we're riding around Fort Park, cars beep at us and say hi when we're riding, don't they?
Yep.
They know us. What happens in a mean road?
Passing too fast.
Passing too fast. You live in Haggerty and Michigan Ave. And for individuals who don't know that area, Sean, is that a mean roads or nice roads where you live?
The mean ones.
Mean and really mean, not just kind of mean. When you ride your bike, you have a disability, you have some vision issues. Do you
Yep.
ride on the sidewalk or on the street?
In the street.
Do you act like a car?
Yep.
Do you follow all the rules?
I do.
Have you ever had a truck come too close to you?
Sometimes.
Yeah, and what type of trucks go between Haggerty and Michigan Ave?
Pickup trucks.
Pickup trucks, garbage trucks, right?
Yep.
A lot of the garbage trucks are going there, filling in there, and they're racing back and forth. And it was scary getting to work. You had a 4-mile ride, and then something amazing happened. What did they do?
The bike path.
They put a bike path in, and you went down from 4 miles to 1 mile. Was it safer to be on the bike path?
And safer.
Did you like it?
Yep.
So we can do a lot with making the roads safer, but we have to make drivers safer. We have to make people understand that it's Sean out there. He doesn't get a choice. Just like a law enforcement agent doesn't get a choice to be on the road, or someone who's working on the roads, Sean has to ride his bike to be independent. This bill, these bills will make the roads safer for Sean. Sean, have you ever been hit?
Once.
Once, yeah, once is more than enough, buddy. I've only been hit once too, and I don't want to be hit again. What happened?
They bought me a new bike.
They bought you a new bike because they felt bad, but there's no penalty. When accident happened, though, you were riding down the road, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the car passed you, right? And turned.
I had to, yeah, if I had to go right.
He turned left. Oh, he turned left, and he hit right into you.
Yep.
Where'd he hit you?
My side.
In your side, and knocked you down. Whose fault was it?
The drivers.
The driver's fault. And back then, was there any penalty?
Nope.
No. There wasn't even a ticket given for that accident. But the driver felt so bad, he went out and bought Sean a new bike. A nice Cannondale bike, right?
Yep.
But it's not as nice as the bike you built, right?
No.
You have better bikes now, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very important. This is a disability issue. This is an issue of access. This is an issue of independence. This is not some fly-by-night thing for cyclists who ride carbon fiber bikes. This is Sean's independent life. Please consider that as you're considering these bills. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Rep Fitzgerald?
I'd like to thank you both for being here this morning and providing testimony. I just want to highlight that there are a number of members on this committee who are part of our Autism Advocates and Disability Advocates caucuses. And Sean, I just want to say thank you so much for your testimony. This is certainly something that I'm going to remember for a long, long time. So thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you, and I agree. It was really nice to meet you, Sean, and thank you for your testimony today. We don't have any other questions, but I do have, you're all set.
Thank you.
So I do have a few cards to read in. Let's see. Ross Gavin from the Mission Environmental Council does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Mike Camponi from SEMCOG does not wish to speak, supports the bill. And the Operating Engineers Local 324 does not wish to speak, supports the bill. Okay, so let's see. Chair, I need a motion to adopt the H3 substitute to Senate Bill 617 with recommendation. Representative Hoskins makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to adopt the H3 substitute, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Roth?
Yes.
Bruck?
Yay.
Kuntz?
Yes.
St. Germain? Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass.
Substitute is adopted. I need a motion to report Senate Bill 617 with recommendation as substitute, H3. Representative Fitzgerald makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
the motion to report, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Outman?
Pass.
Roth?
Pass.
Bruck?
Pass.
Kuntz?
Pass.
St. Germain? Mr. Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays, 5 pass.
Senate Bill 617 is reported with recommendation as substitute H3. I need a motion to report Senate Bill 618. With recommendation, Representative Hersberg makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to report, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Yes.
Outman?
Pass.
Roth?
Pass.
Bruck?
Pass.
Kuntz?
Pass.
St. Germain? Mr. Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays, 5 pass.
Senate Bill 618 is reported with recommendation. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on that testimony there. So next we'll be taking up House Bill 5924. Here to speak on the bill is Representative Farhat. Joining him today is Melvindale Police Chief Robert Canali, Melvindale Mayor Nicole Shkira, and Officer Syed, Brother Ahmed Syed. And once you're all set, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, the mayor had a unexpected thing come up. She won't be able to join us today. But with me up here is Officer Muhammad Saeed's brother, Ahmed Saeed, along with his father. Corporal Muhammad Saeed was a light in what was a very dark time in Melvindale. He was an officer who heeded the call of duty at a very young age and wanted to put his community first. He served, more than just the 9 to 5. He went above and beyond. He was a corporal, but he was also a true son of Melvindale. And his story is that of the American experience, that of a son of immigrants who came here to find a better life. And he wanted to give back to this great country and to this great community that embraced him. And so he signed up to become a police officer. He did it because he loved Melvindale. He did it because he loved his neighbors. And, he would patrol the sports events, the high school football games. He would go through the city, and he would go above and beyond. He'd go out of his own pocket to buy gifts and toys for children who needed it during the holidays. He was such an inspiration that his own colleagues began to join him in doing these things. Corporal Saeed was 26 when he responded to a call this July. In that call, he responded to a individual committing suspicious activity, and upon engaging with him, proceeded to a foot chase that ultimately resulted in Corporal Muhammad Saeed losing his life in the line of duty. His legacy, though, lives on. It lives on through his family. It lives on through the community in Melvindale that have embraced him and started charities in his honor, that have started maintaining the tradition of giving back during back to school and the holidays. But his story is truly that of an American who came here, son of immigrants, was proud to be a Melvindale resident. I mean, he would brag. He had a swagger about him where he would want it to be known. Melvindale was the best community to live in, period. It was the safest because he was patrolling. He was protecting you. I first met the guy, I'll be honest. I met him when I was first elected. He was one of the first people I met. Young guy, ambitious. He wanted, when I say he wanted the best, I mean, he'd be calling me or calling the mayor and saying, hey, we should be doing this. Hey, we need state funding for that. He cared about his city. And it really breaks my heart. I've said on the other side when we've done these for folks, but this one really breaks my heart. I mean, this is a person whose legacy, will live on, but who gave his life at 26. But I want folks to hear from his family, if that's okay, about the impact he had and the kind of character he was.
Good morning. My brother, Corporal Muhammad Saeed,
was the heart of the family, the heart of the city of Malvindale. After he passed away, right now the city and the family are living without a heart. He used to go to work and do 110% into that job to save lives, to protect the city from drug people, from drunk drivers, to keep the children safe. He will always go every single day in the morning to make sure the kids are going to school safe. The whole community knows him as his smile, always smiling. Even when he gives out a ticket to one of the residents of Malvindale, they will smile back to him because they know he's a nice guy. On July 21st, my brother was supposed to go home at 8 a.m. And then due to the short staff in Malvindale, his supervisor asked him to stay over for 4 hours till 12 p.m. And my brother didn't hesitate to say no. He was like, I got you. And he did it. At 11:45, that's when he lost his life, 15 minutes before his shift ended. And just want to let you guys know, he was a nice guy. He was a nice brother, a nice coworker, a nice son. He was everything to everybody, and he was there for everybody. Literally, like a month before he passed away, he posted an anonymous post on Facebook asking that he's gonna do a toy drive to give at children's. And then after he passed away, the admin announced who was it, and it was him. Thank you guys, I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about Corporal Saeed's life. We do appreciate it. I do have one question from Representative Bruck.
And appreciate you bringing this to us and to the brother Muhammad Saeed and his father. We appreciate you being here today. My question is, as far as the funding for the signage, have you arranged that or started that?
Yeah, yes, to answer that question, Representative, we have. The community is more than generous to meet this need, and we have secured the funding. That won't be an issue.
Again, you got my support, and I appreciate you guys coming. It's not easy to come here and to talk about that, but you have good memories as well, and he was a soldier in the community is how I would describe it as, so thank you.
Thank you very much. We don't have any more questions for you. I do need to read in a couple cards, so you guys can step up. So Stephanie Jackson from the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police does not wish to speak, supports the bill. And then Mark Polsdorfer from MDOT is neutral. MDOT is neutral. Okay, so I need a motion to adopt the. Sorry. I need a motion to adopt the H1 substitute to House Bill 5924. Representative Farhat makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to adopt the H1 substitute, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Kurzberg?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Roth?
Yes.
Bruck?
Yay.
Kuntz?
Yes.
St. Germain? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass.
The substitute is adopted. I need a motion to report House Bill 5924 with recommendation as substitute H1. Representative Farhat makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to report, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Kurzberg?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Roth?
Yes.
Bruck?
Yay.
Kuntz?
Yes.
St. Germain?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass.
House Bill 5924 is reported with recommendation as substitute H1. Thank you so much for joining us today, and giving your testimony. Next, we'll be taking up Senate Bill 893. Here representing Senator Geis is her Chief of Staff, Brian Merlos, and joining him is the Executive Director of the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority, Mark Schrupp. When you're all set, the floor is yours.
Good morning, members of the House Committee on Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure. Thank you to Chair Shannon, Vice Chair McDonald, and Vice Chair Outman for bringing this bill before the committee. Senator Geis is sorry she cannot be here this morning. She is currently chairing the Senate Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. So two sides of the coin spin at the same time. My name is Brian Merlos. I serve as Chief of Staff to Senator Geis, and I'm very excited to be bringing SB 893 up for your consideration. With this legislation, we have the opportunity to empower our port authorities to accelerate economic development in their catchment, offer highly competitive interest rates to potential developments, and do so in a way that puts no risk onto the taxpayer. The key to SB 893 is in the Port Authority's status as a public entity, which allows them to be particularly competitive in the marketplace. Because they are a public entity, they can bond at a 0% interest rate. And with this legislation, the Port Authority can act as a financier and be able to pass those savings along to developers at deeply discounted rates compared to what they can find in the private marketplace. With this added source of revenue, our port authorities will then become less reliant on state appropriations. By using these principles of public-private partnerships, something that our state has not often done, we do have the opportunity to grow development on our waterways, an essential mode of transportation to importing and exporting in our state. The S1 version of SB 893, which passed in committee, clarifies the types of projects that will be eligible and balances the most robust and effective use of this funding mechanism. The S1 passed unanimously out of the Senate Transportation and Infrastructure Committee and then passed on the floor with bipartisan support, a vote of 29 yeas and 9 nays on the Senate floor. Senator Geis and I thank you for your consideration and hope that SB 893 can earn your support. With that, I will turn it over to Mark Schrupp. He is the Executive Director of the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority, and he can answer any technical questions you may have.
Thanks, Brian. Good morning, Chair Shannon and the members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of Senate Bill 893, which will provide important amendments to the Hertel-Law-Stopchinski Port Authority Act, the statute which allows any county in one of its cities to form a port authority. Thus, the changes described in Senate Bill 893 would apply to all port authorities across the state. I'm Mark Schrupp, and for the last 3.5 years, I have had the honor and privilege to serve as the Executive Director of the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority, which was formed in 1978 pursuant to the Port Authority Act. We support Senate Bill 893 because it will, 1, update the kinds of projects that the Port Authority can develop at a time of enormous opportunity to reimagine and transform older industrial sites and the growing waterfront entertainment district. And 2, equip the Port Authority with the power to issue, quote, pass-through revenue bonds for job-creating developments, just like port authorities in other states. And it is critical to emphasize that Senate Bill 893 does not, and I'll repeat, does not allow or create taxing authority to pay for those bonds on private projects. The Port Authority does not have and is not seeking the power to levy taxes. Our goal with these amendments is to be a stimulus for and partner with businesses in economic development projects and help transform former industrial sites, many of which are not productive and contaminated sites, into new industries and places of employment for Michigan residents. We also want to be a catalyst for waterfront development for tourism, entertainment, and residential purposes, industries which are really growing in southeast Michigan. I would be remiss if I didn't take the time to thank the legislature here for the ongoing support of the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority through its annual state appropriations of 50% of our operating budget, and especially the modest increase in the last 2 years. We have been putting the funding to good use, especially seeking federal grants. In particular, the Port Authority was recently awarded $24 million from the EPA to invest in clean energy equipment and fuel at 3 port terminals, which will help improve air quality. It's part of our plan to decarbonize port operations by the year 2040. Now, why we're here. With these amendments to our governing statute, the Port Authority will be equipped with the usual tools and flexibility needed to jumpstart economic development projects. That is, the ability to issue pass-through financing for tax-exempt bond transactions. When our statute was created, the only projects that the Port Authority could finance were those that it owns. We could not issue pass-through revenue bonds for projects owned by other entities in the port, which are mainly private businesses. This has been an important an impediment to true economic development. The Port Authority is small, and it only owns a 34-acre cargo dock, and it only controls about 5% of the 10 million tons of cargo that pass through the port. In order to be effective, we need to be able to support the private entities with these kinds of loans. Modern bond financing for port authorities requires the ability to issue pass-through revenue bonds. These loans allow private businesses to tap into much-needed lower interest rate tax-exempt bonds for industrial development and other kinds of projects. The bonds are not debts of the Port Authority, but are paid by and only collectible from the businesses that benefit from the loans. The amendment would also address another limitation on our statute by broadening the kinds of projects that the Port Authority can assist. The changes will allow the Port Authority to jumpstart the redevelopment of over 1,000 acres of former industrial waterfront property within the Port of Detroit that is currently vacant or soon will be. These properties helped power our economy from the early 1900s, but have shut down over the last 30 years and will remain vacant and unproductive if we don't assertively work to attract new industries and perhaps convert some to other industries like light manufacturing or entertainment. The Port Authority has been aggressively engaged in business development of maritime and non-maritime activities for this region. There are businesses and entrepreneurs who want to invest here and believe that Michigan is the epicenter of several growing industries: transportation and logistics, light manufacturing, subassembly, and travel and tourism. Crain's magazine recently highlighted the potential for major entertainment development along the Detroit riverfront. The Port Authority, which hosts cruise ships who bring thousands of passengers every year from all over the world to experience Detroit and Southeast Michigan, is positioned to really help the development of our entire waterfront for entertainment, as well as a wide range of maritime and non-maritime activities. Indeed, in the next couple weeks, I will be in meetings and site visits with potential developments on the industrial and recreational portions of our riverfront. Senate Bill 893 will give the Port Authority the flexibility and the tools to assist in those development projects. I appreciate your time and am happy to answer any questions you may have.
I do have a few questions here. Representative Roth.
Thank you, Chair Shannon.
What, I surprise you?
Little reach. I thought he was first, but that's okay. I guess my paper was taken from me, so let me take a look here. I guess my problem would be, or not problem, I think the economic development's great. I think that's a great thing to do. My concern is, does any of the authority property get sold or transferred to anyone else? Is any of the authority's property at risk for any kind of development and or sale? Since tax dollars are going to support you, I need to be sure that those entities aren't at risk.
Right. No, I mean, the Port Authority really doesn't own very much. We own a 34-acre cargo dock that is under a long-term operational lease agreement. So this is not to deal with that property at all. What this is aimed at is the privately owned property that's sitting vacant and undeveloped that is poised for redevelopment, so we can assist the investors and the businesses who want to put money into those projects with lower tax-exempt bond financing. So there won't be any sale of of Port Authority
And the
property.
Chair wouldn't mind me to follow up real quickly. But issuing bonds through the authority, does that put risk at the authority itself?
Not at all. These, because they're what are considered pass-through bonds, the Port Authority's credit is not at risk at all. We won't be an obligor on that.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Vice Chair Outman.
Thank you, Chair Shannon, and thank you both for being here. I do like the idea of improving our ports, certainly in the state of Michigan. Just real quickly, kind of piggybacking off of Rep Roth, excuse me. Are there safeguards in place to prevent excessive debt accumulation due to the expanding of these financing powers?
Not at all, because these won't be debts of the Port Authority at all. So the bondholders will only be able to collect from the private businesses that will benefit from the loan. So this really is mostly a private sector tool. The IRS code allows public entities to do what are called private activity bonds, and so it's strictly private sector debt.
Sure. Just real quickly, are other states, specifically Great Lakes states, are they kind of expanding these financing mechanisms for port authorities?
They've been out there ahead of us, and we aren't even going as far as they are. Ohio has extensive port authority financing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Representative Kuntz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is a piggyback on those two. So there's no scenario where this comes back on the Port Authority or subsequently the taxpayers. That will never happen.
Not at all.
Okay. And if I may, Chair, is this only for the Detroit Port Authority?
No, it would apply to any port authority that's created under this statute. Currently, the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority is the only one, but any county and its largest city could create a port authority
So
tomorrow.
Ludington, for example, anyone could develop this for, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Representative Bruck.
Thank you, Chair Shannon. Most of my questions have been asked. And my first question was going to be, how many port authorities are there in Michigan? So the answer is just one.
Well, the Port of Monroe is organized under a different statute. So we're the only two public port authorities. There are ports in other parts of the state, but we're the only one under this statute.
Specifically, so the Port of Monroe, it's not a port authority as it's set up. This wouldn't apply to them, I guess is my question. Because that's in my district. That's why I'm asking about the Port of Monroe.
I'm not familiar with their powers under their statute, but this would only apply to port authorities organized under this law. I believe Port of Monroe has other kinds of tools. It may even have taxing power. So it's a different port authority statute.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And my other questions had to do with creating liability, but you've answered those. So thank you both. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for your testimony today.
Thank you.
A couple cards to read in here. First, the operating engineers, Local 324, does not wish to speak, supports the bill. And then Mark Polsdorfer from MDOT, they are neutral. MDOT is neutral. I need a motion to report Senate Bill 893 with recommendation. Vice Chair Representative McDonald makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to report, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Hersberg?
Here.
Outman?
Yes.
Roth?
Pass.
Brock?
Pass.
Kuntz?
Pass.
St. Germain? Mr. Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays, 5 pass.
Senate Bill 893 is reported with recommendation. Seeing there being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.